So what I would like right now is for group 1, you guys are going to start right up here with me. So you guys can move up and have a seat around on this side of the table. Group 2, I need everybody from group 2 to go and sit at this table. I need group 3 to start with Mr. Browning, and then group 4, you're going to start back in the back. Okay? Everybody know what they're doing?
So the stations were set up. We were covering adding integers. You were using manipulatives. I was using the number line. We had 2 other groups of students working independently on review. How did you feel the lesson went?
I think it went pretty well with my 2 groups, because my 2 groups used manipulatives so they could have a visual. Since those students that was in those groups are more hands-on and visual, and I wanted to use those chips so that that would be as a support at the beginning, and so that they could pull away from the support. And at the end of the lesson, my goal was for them to start putting together the rules. It worked great with Jacob. Jacob at first was relying real heavily on counting my chips. So if I had 7 positives and plus 2 negatives, he was doing 7 reds and 2 yellows and then canceling them out. So and getting the answer. Whereas toward the end of the lesson, he was making the connection that if I had -9 plus -2, it was going to be -11, because it was all negative yellow. Yellows, I said, was negative numbers. So he was making that connection to end, so he was able to pull away from that support. Jefferson, it took a while for him to get to that point, but Jefferson was operating at a lower level than the majority of my students. He just recently came off of an assessment at the state, so he is developing the necessary skills to get to that point. So it was good for me to see him using the chips and making that connection. When you came by, you would have seen that I didn't give Jefferson as many problems to work on. I gave him 3 because I knew it would be slower for Jefferson to work. But my other 4 students that I had in that group were able to pick up and run with it, and they caught on pretty quick. And like you said, it was a review from earlier in the year. But at that point, my students
weren't following the rules correctly and all that, so it just gave them another way to work those types of problems out. So, and when we worked with the number line, I know I discussed this with you, that I had some of the higher students in the class, and what we did was, my goal was to just give them another way to kind of visualize adding integers. So we did that on the number line, and we got to the last group and they were kind of not wanting to use the number line. They just wanted to use the rules, and I think that's fine to do. I mean, giving them multiple ways to do the problems.
Right, that's the way it works.
For me, differently, I would have spent more time grouping the students. I mean, we had them grouped okay, but maybe you working extensively with just one group instead of switching like that and having 10 kids.
Well, right, because like out of the 9 students I worked with, 4 of them were pretty good at doing it.
Yeah.
So I mean, they caught on quick and ran. Like for Cindy or Savannah, they were able to. I feel that they could easily went into another.
Or even setting it up to where you use the chips and then we move them to me with the number line. Just those students that are having issues and not really maybe letting the other students work independently that have the concept.
And when
down.
and even going back, even though we use this as a review, when we introduce the lesson next time, maybe start off as a whole group and then focus more into those little pigeonhole slots, I guess you want to group stations and go that route.
Okay.
I think it worked.
Yeah. I always feel like the kids are a little more engaged when we use stations or...
Well, it's a smaller group.
Yeah, having a smaller group, and it keeps them on task. And so to reach the kids that were ready for more of a challenge, what I did was, after we discussed things about how to add integers on the number line, we took that and they were to analyze problems that somebody else did, figure out what they had done wrong. We used more real-to-life situations, like we used money, we used temperature problems, things like that, instead of just adding numbers on the number line.
That's what I had. 2 questions at the bottom. I didn't think my students would be able to get to, but Cindy was able to. Cindy was able to get those, and Cindy was one that caught on and moved quick. So yeah.